The official call is under review. Let's go to the monitor.
Welcome back, guys, to the Under Review Podcast, episode 16. Woo! Sorry, I missed my soundbite little clip right there.
I thought so.
Yeah, but, week 6 had a lot in store for us. As y'all know, I'm your host, Todd. Alongside me, across from me, however you put it, is my co-host, Marty.
Guess who's back? Back again.
Back again. Peyton's back. Throw a pick. Oh, well, no, he didn't this week. But anyways, not this week. Surprise.
We got just so much to unpack. There was so much crazy that went on in SEC. A little bit for the national side. Just what a crazy week to unpack in the next hour or so.
Well, let's before we get started on everything, let's get a word from our sponsor. Unlike last time. Well, I guess he don't want to talk today.
We can't remember to call Chuck if we don't know his number.
This episode of the Under Review Podcast is brought to you by Chuck's Heating and Air. Chuck has over 40 years of service and experience with residential services. He services most makes and models. He is Alabama licensed, bonded, and insured, and locally owned and operated. Are you hot and you're supposed to be cool? Are you cool and you're supposed to be hot? Then you've got a problem. Call Chuck. Area code 256-892-2757. Again, 256-892-2757.
Again, like always, just call Chuck, friends and followers. Last week we got kind of sidetracked because we was talking about the Pac-12 and the realignment situation, and
we got enough to talk about this week.
Yeah, we try not to get sidetracked this week. So, we're just going to try and get it rolling.
So, before you click that, who would have thought the week we would have had so many teams fail in the SEC? Your ups are down, your downs are up. So, again, a lot to unpack, and I'm ready for it.
This week took a big turn in SEC championship playoff.
Which way did it go?
Well, I don't even know. I thought this was going to be a good week, which it was. I said in the pregame that it wouldn't beat last week. I still don't think it beats last week, but it was way better than I anticipated it to be.
I think we had better games this week that we weren't supposed to have.
Yeah,
yes,
I agree.
Yes, the Century matchup with Georgia, Alabama, went down to the last play of the game. But there's 3 or 4 other games that we've got this week to look over that were just crazy to watch and to see how it ended.
Well, let's get started. This week we're going to take a different turn from the detour as we did the previous weeks, because there were so many good games and we don't want to start off with what we had first. So this week we're going to start off with our interstate game of the week, which was the first leg of the Commander-in-Chief Trophy, which brought you Navy and Air Force, 34-7, as the Navy midshipmen go to 5-0 on the season and take the first leg.
Yeah, this was all Navy, which we all expected it to be. Yeah. They put up 463 total yards. They had 6 rushers in double digits, including Vander Hoff, not. Oh. Yeah, and he had 2 touchdowns on the ground. So really, with 134 passing yards and 329 on the ground, they really just, what do you say when the ship forward ho or tally ho or whatever? I was
on land. I wasn't by sea, so I couldn't tell you.
That's a Brandon question. But no, like you said, speaking of that Commander-in-Chief Trophy, Army is also 5-0 for the first time, or Navy's 5-0 for the first time since 2017, and I think Navy or Army is as well since 2006, 2005, something in that range.
Yeah, I mean, Army's giving it to them, just like Navy's giving it to them. So just that Commander-in-Chief third leg portion of the trophy this year, as always, the people who watch that game, we understand the mentality it brings. It's the only game on that weekend. Right. Everybody else is getting ready for bowls and all this and that. And then you have Army and Navy, the sole game midday on Saturday. And it's just going to bring that much more implications on that game. Both teams only need one more win to get into bowl eligibility. Shouldn't be hard. I don't see the ships or the tanks crashing hard this bad this early. No. One more win, they're in, which is going to be great for both of them. I love watching the military academies play in the bowl season. I don't care if they win or lose. I'll still pull for them. It's really good to see because, you'll get a matchup between like Army and Minnesota, and everybody's like, oh, Minnesota by like 37, then Army comes out and beats them by a touchdown.
Not so fast, yeah.
Right, and I just love it because, everybody puts these military academies down, and, I mean, they all run the triple option. But the one thing I know, if you can't stop a triple option, you can't beat the triple option. So
exactly. Hey, just real quick, what is the second leg? Who's the second leg?
That'll be Army and Air Force.
Okay, Army, Air Force, and then Army will play Navy.
At the end.
Army, okay.
The third leg will be Air Force at Army, November 2nd.
All right, so is whoever wins the most out of the 3 matches gets the CIC?
Yeah, so Navy's up 1 right now. If Air Force beats Army, Navy wins.
Okay, because they've already beat Air Force, right?
Yep.
Okay, just a little confusing. We were trying to talk the other day about it, but
Navy does have to beat Army at the end of the season still. But I think even though Air Force, if Air Force, it's weird. I've only seen it happen a couple times with all 3 of them splitting. And it goes by, tiebreaker, point spread, point score, all this and that. So as of right now, Navy leads 1-0 in the Commander-in-Chief first leg.
Good deal.
And, like you said, Blake Horvath runs for 115 yards and 2 touchdowns as Navy stays hot. What a game it was.
Yeah, it was. They did that thing like they were supposed to do.
Yep, I agree. This next game, we're going to take you down to the swamp as the UCF Knights travel down to place the Florida Gators. Final score 24-13 in favor of the Florida Gators.
Not shocking. I picked them here, but I really think Florida finally found that offensive fluidity that they've been looking for. Mertz stayed in, I think, the whole game. I think Lagway maybe had 2 or 3 passes.
He had 4. He was 4 for 4 again.
Okay, so he was perfect on the last 2 games, but still, Mertz was their leader. They did it. 359 total yards, 229 in the air, and 130. I mean, Florida was really the total package here. But they scored. The only thing to worry about here is they scored no points in the third and fourth quarter. They put 7 up in the first and 17 in the second quarter. But,
that's crazy. Here's the big thing. If you're following along on YouTube and seeing the stats that are on the screen, 359 total for Florida, 273 for that Gus electric offense. But UCF did have more first downs by 2. But Florida controlled the time of possession a little bit, 32 in favor of the Gators, 27 in favor of the UCF Knights. So, I don't know, what we're looking forward is as Florida wins and stays 2-2 at home and 1-1 in the SEC. So it's kind of, where's Florida going? I expected that game to lose and Billy Napier would be fired. It keeps blowing out the ashes right now, and he's staying alive. I don't know how.
Yeah, I don't think once again we've said it so many times. Once he gets into that SEC play, I think they're going to have more Scooby Doo games to pull the mask off, and Napier's going to be on the first thing smoking.
We'll get into some of that conversation a little bit later.
Oh, I'm excited for that one.
Oh. Yeah, it just hit me this morning. Graham Mertz went 19 for 23 with 82% completion rate and 179 yards, 1 touchdown. And then Montreal Jr. on the ground, 10 carries, 54 yards, and 1 touchdown as Florida gets a win in the swamp.
That was my ear.
Yeah, well, I mean, you don't need it. The next game is going to bring us Ole Miss at South Carolina. The final score, the number 12 Land Rebels 27-3 in favor of the Land Rebels.
South Carolina did not play their best game, and nor did Ole Miss. I think Ole Miss did just enough to win. They Parrish, he had a touchdown, and it wasn't because of Dart. Dart didn't throw any touchdowns yet. He had 285 passing yards.
Yeah.
Ole Miss had 425 total yards on the 285 passing and 140 on the ground. To the opposite side of South Carolina's 313 total yards, 162 passing, and 151 on the ground. I mean, it was a struggle win. I mean, they didn't do what we would consider Ole Miss things, as we saw, I guess, the first 4 cupcake games. So this could be the Ole Miss team that struggled. They're at that number 12 ranking. But for me, the player of the game had to be J.J. Pegas,
J.J. Pegas,
which was an Auburn transfer. Which when I remember when he first came to Auburn, you and I were both excited. The man
started as a tight end.
As I remember. The craziest stat line you'll ever hear in college football. He had 2 carries, 2 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Have a day, big guy. Have a day.
100%. He's scoring a touchdown every time he touches the ball.
I mean, magic.
I mean, the numbers are there. So,
right.
27-3 in favor of the Ole Miss Land Rebels. Jackson Dart was 14 for 27, only 51% for Jackson Dart, so his numbers have went down rapidly after hitting into SEC play.
As we thought they might.
Yeah. 285 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Then Henry Parrish Jr., 21 carries, 81 yards, 1 touchdown. And then J.J. Pegas, like Marty said, 2 carries, 2 yards, 2 touchdowns. And then let's flip it over to South Carolina. Not really much to talk about.
No. That 3 points. They had a field goal. That just the offenses.
Good.
Sellers did not hold up his end of the bargain. I mean, still 20 for 32, 163, and 1 pick is just not. And he was also their leading rusher with 55 yards on 15 carries. I mean, that's just, if you're going to win anywhere, much less in the SEC, your numbers are going to have to be way better than that.
Yeah, because Lenore Sellers went 20 for 32, 66% with 162 yards with 1 interception, 15 carries, and 55 rushing yards, and that was the best stat line I could find. There was no other stats for their defense or anything that really just stood out in this game.
Just that they were very, very subpar from where – right. Very, very subpar from what their defense has showed us early in the year. And, again, for the 400th time we've said it, it's SEC play. I mean, that's – we want to try to get into that a little bit. The SEC is going to cannibalize herself, and we do it every year. But with these big teams falling and some of these smaller teams, Arkansas and like your Vandy's breaking out these tough wins, it's going to be like that all year. So I don't even know if we'll have an undefeated team going into the SEC championship.
Strap on your football helmets because the SEC is just now starting.
Yeah, the SEC has hit the fan. Thank you.
Well, that was actually leading into my next game, but it actually worked. Our next game was between the hedges as Auburn traveled down to Athens, Georgia, to face the number 5 Bulldogs on a final score of 13-31 in favor of Georgia.
Yeah, Auburn got left in the dog pound. Nobody took them home. We expected this game. They kept it, I say, fairly close. It was only 14-3 at half. Auburn didn't do anything that we haven't seen. I mean, they didn't throw no picks, but, Jacquez had a really solid run. It just – the offense wasn't there. I mean, Magoo kicker. McGee, Towns Magoo missed another field goal. Still don't know.
It was blocked. It was blocked.
It's still a miss.
Well, technically.
You don't get points for missing them.
I mean, you do if they return it, but –
Well, I didn't think you could if they return it, but you can't advance it, can you?
Mm-mm.
I don't think. As far as Auburn's numbers are not god awful terrible. We had 337 total yards, 200 in the air, 137 on the ground. I thought, again, Hunter played extremely well. I don't see him and Marty were playing well. I don't see why we didn't keep pounding it. We didn't really have – was there any turnovers there? I don't –
No turnovers for the whole game.
Yeah, I don't – that was shocking for Auburn-wise. But Georgia looked like Georgia in the second half. 381 total yards, 240 in the air, 141. I thought Beck played a whole lot better. 2 touchdowns, 240 yards. So, nothing really changed my opinion about Auburn or Georgia here. Auburn's still looking for their identity, and it's going to be tough to find it here in the next couple of weeks. And Georgia,
luckily for Auburn, we play the Bisons this weekend. We're a 7-point favorite, so hopefully we'll be pretty good.
Know. If we might not throw a pick against them, that tight end.
The Bisons, they played great, stellar a couple weeks ago against Alabama and Georgia on the same day. They split up their team. They played both extremely well. So the Bisons will head to Auburn. We'll head to Jordan-Hare next week. So good luck with that one, Auburn, because I don't believe in you. But Peyton Thorne, 16 for 27, 59 yards, only 200 touchdowns. Like we said, no touchdowns or no interceptions. Jarquez Hunter, 13 carries. As you've seen, his carries dropped a lot from last week. 91, still not almost hitting that 100-yard mark. 91 yards.
That's just driving me nuts, man. He is a killer running the ball. Just give him the dadgum ball, man.
Yeah, I guess they want Peyton to run the ball too because he ran it for 13 times.
That was one of my points. That was driving me nuts through the ball game. I meant to write it down. But if Peyton Thorne wants to be a running back, change his damn number and give him the ball. I think he squandered because I know I saw Freeze jump down his throat one time.
The fourth down.
Yes, Jesus heaven. He ran the ball and just now 2 or 3 times he made a good decision, but there was 3 or 4 that was one he was supposed to shoot right up the middle because Hunter picked up that back and the hole was open. And he fiddly dicked it around and got sacked.
I don't know if you know this or not, but I did watch. It was a press conference or something on Twitter, something about that, about Hugh Freeze. He was asking what happened. As we've seen him go and chew out Peyton Thorne, but he didn't do it initially, as we saw. So he asked him a question. He said, "What did you call?" Because nobody was on the same page. And he said, "I called
play looked blown up."
He said, "I called a zone read," and then that's when Hugh jumped into him because that was not the play call. The play call was to give Jarquez Hunter straight the ball. No zone read.
It was open.
And he changed the play in the huddle, and that's where everything went to crap. And that's why he jumped in. Yeah, he changed the play.
Yeah, you watch that play, and you see it. The hole is there, and he pulls it, and then he gets smashed. I'm like, ugh. But nothing that we don't expect. People's already calling for Freeze's job. I'm not that. People's already calling for DeBoer's job. So that's
my question is, how can you call for Hugh Freeze's job when you lose 3 straight games and then get a 4-star quarterback?
Right, the writing's on the wall, and especially after Deuce committed, I watched a couple other things, and they're saying they're seeing it. They're seeing in the future. So hopefully that's the bright spot. Get some things moved around, new players. Right. All right, let's jump on this because I know we've got more to get to.
Well, I haven't got the Georgia stats yet. You cut me off.
Well, I got sidetracked with Freeze.
Carson Pick, 23 for 29, 79%, 240 yards, 2 touchdowns. Trevor Etienne finally showed up in the Georgia uniform, 16 carries, 88 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And that's all we're going to say. We're just going to keep on moving. Actually, wrong button because it's this one.
Uh-oh.
Then this one.
I got plenty of stats.
Yeah, I got plenty of buttons too. And that means there was an upset alert by the Vanderbilt Commodores as the number 1 ranked Alabama Crimson Tide goes into Vandy and gets upset 40-35 in favor of the Commodores.
Oh, for me to be trying to watch Auburn and Brittany in here trying to watch the Vandy game, I know Auburn was already on, but I come and watching this one. And I asked Brittany because I wasn't sure. I said, did Vandy lead the whole game? Alabama was never, they cut it close. Never, not one time. And let me tell you, dadgummit, before we get started, Alabama hasn't lost to an unranked team since October of 2021.
South Carolina, Texas A&M.
Right. Vanderbilt has never beaten a number one ranked team.
0-60 in their last 60 attempts.
All right. One more. Vanderbilt has never beat Alabama for the first time in 40 years. That went to Pot Sunday. I don't understand what this Alabama team was, but they didn't get off the bus.
I don't even think there was a bus for them to get off of.
Yeah,
I just know.
If it had been Nick Saban, he'd make them walk home.
That's what I was saying, because I was talking to somebody on Facebook. They said last time Alabama got upset by an unranked team, it was Louisiana Monroe, Nick Saban's first year, Alabama turned out fine. I said also their head coach was Nick Saban, not Kalen DeBoer. So
yeah, exactly.
That's just that.
But on that flip side, Diego Pavia was the freaking man. He did everything his team needed to do to make that win. He was making the right calls, making the good passes. A lot of people on some of the referee calls and BS. Alabama just got whooped.
I think it's just in Alabama's still trying to come off that high. They got off the high way too fast, and they couldn't come back up and build themselves up. They got sidetracked. Vandy snuck in. I mean, we know Diego Pavia is the king of letting somebody sleep on him.
Right, most definitely.
Auburn last year. Auburn was getting ready to play the Iron Bowl. Auburn slept on him. He beats Auburn at New Mexico State. Alabama just coming off a brutal week against Georgia. I don't know who they got next week. But
I don't even have my schedule up. South Carolina.
But I know they wasn't looking forward it's just Vandy, we're going to skip towards South Carolina.
But then they got Tennessee after that. So,
I mean, if anything, there's the goalpost going down the highway. But if anything,
took them 3 hours to get all the way down the road.
It's only a 53-minute walk, but I mean, with everybody in the way. But it was a game. Just seeing that for Vandy, which like we've said before, replaces that Georgia State game as they needed to win, because nobody in their right mind would have seen them beating Alabama.
Nobody picked it. We didn't pick it. SEC Nation didn't pick it.
I tell you one person who actually said that Vandy might win this game, and that was Billy Auburn.
Yeah, but he's an Alabama fan.
It don't matter. He still picked Vandy. He told me, he said, watch, Vandy's going to come in and win. And I was like, oh, you're crazy. You're just Vandy won.
I think he stayed up all night smoking butts with Dad getting ready for their game Saturday. Is what he... But no, as numbers-wise, I mean, Bama had only 394 yards to Vandy's 418.
Oh, that's terrible.
Right.
310 of those yards came from Jalen Milroe throwing the ball.
Exactly. And a little shocking fact here, they only had 84 rushing yards. That power backfield would jam
Jalen.
Yeah, exactly. That they shut them down. Pavia, they had 252 and then 166 on the ground. And the biggest thing is Vandy's defense showed up. They sacked Bama 2 times. This is one in the trenches right there, because Bama had no sacks. Vandy's line was whipping the piss out of Alabama all night. And
That's
then
shocking.
to that, very shocking. And then Milroe, I think there was 2 or 3 games this week, like the Ole Miss game, definitely the Tennessee game, not so much the Georgia game, but in this game, I think it hurt a lot of Heisman stocks. I'm in a group chat on Twitter, and that's what I was talking about was if Alabama but Jalen Milroe would have to have a drastic game for him to get bumped down in that Heisman talk. I mean, he still went 18 for 24, 75 yards, and 310 yards. 75%, 310 yards. 1 touchdown, 1 interception, and 1 fumble loss. So that's the only 2 turnovers they had was on their Heisman front runner, which is very pivotal in this game, because that second touchdown Alabama had got within 3. And then
and that interception was a pick 6, and that fumble.
Yeah.
That fumble, I was watching. I talked to a couple of our buddies about it. If you go back and look, Jalen Milroe is a right-handed quarterback. On this specific play, excuse me, I can't speak, but on this play, he was turned to the left side like Tua would, only looking at one receiver, which if we know anything about somebody eyeing a quarterback or eyeing a receiver, is going to get them hurt.
Yeah, he never seen him.
Gets blind. No, because he, like I said, he was only looking one way. One looked the other way. He gets hit in the back, and the ball just flops out of him. And I'm like, that's going to come back and bite you in the tail because you're not looking at your receivers.
And most definitely. That defensive play, and he made the perfect play. And he swatted the ball and everything. So good play by the defense. They were high octane. I mean, you got any more of the rest of the numbers? Because I want to get to one more point for this game before we get out of this one.
On Alabama's defense, Shaheed Campbell, 12 tackles, 6 solos, and a half tackle for loss. And then on the Vanderbilt side, Diego Pavia, 16 for 20, 80%, 252 yards and 2 touchdowns. Cedric Alexander, 21 carries, 64 yards, 2 touchdowns. And then Eli Stowers, 6 receptions, 112 yards. And then Rendon Fontana with the pick 6 in the first quarter against Jalen Milroe.
Yeah, and Vandy also had 10 more first downs than Bama did, which is shocking. But back to my point. It's a culture. Now it's a culture change. This is a big culture change because you see after the win against Wisconsin where they were doing backflips in the backfield and all this. Did you see how Malachi Moore acted?
Right there at the end of the game. So I get it's your senior year and it's a game you shouldn't lose, but you need to have that attitude off the field or early in the game if you want to get your defense fired up, not when you're already losing by 5 as they take the final snap.
Yeah. Nick Saban would have set him for the rest of the year for that BS. And I know it's not Nick Saban, it's Kalen DeBoer. But if he don't get it, that was the most disrespectful. You wear a C on your chest for a reason to be a captain. He acted like a child. He threw a temper tantrum. He kicked the ball. That was the worst. Yes, that was the worst display of a college athlete that I have ever seen. I mean, as a Bama fan, that would drive me up the wall.
It's like he was asking for the flag because he kicked the ball in front of the full rest, kicked the ball, looked at the head ref, and said, throw it. And he did.
Well, and what the thing is, too, the defensive coordinator tried to get him off. He sent a replacement. He waved him off. And then DeBoer tried to flag him down, tell him to go. He told him no. God bless it. He was hit. That is terrible. If you're supposed to be a leader for a team, a community, and a university, and you act like that, God almighty. Not just because it's Alabama. If anybody, for any player, for any team would have done, I promise you I'd have said the same thing.
I don't care if it's Jarquez Hunter, if it's Nico Iamala, whatever, piss on him. Taylor Green, JJ Pegues. I don't care who it is. That's
awful. That
unsportsmanlike conduct. In any form or fashion.
That is disrespectful.
Kids are watching this game and idolizing some of these players. And to do that is just
they are little kids with they're like you said, they're little kids with his jerseys on. He's even got an action figure and stuff already out. That's very disrespectful. And I hope his grandmama or his mama beat his hiney or somebody snatched him up after that because that was god awful. Okay, rant over.
All right, let's get on to the next one, man. So you don't talk about all that.
I'm still.
Boom. Did that play?
Yep.
Okay, I didn't. Oh, there it is again, just in case. Another upset as the number 4 team, Tennessee drops to Arkansas, 19-14. What a day this is becoming!
Shocked me. This is a really good game we got to watch, and I think. Man, even though Taylor Green did get injured there, I don't remember third quarter.
Fourth quarter.
Was it fourth quarter?
Right before the game was over, which was pivotal.
Right, but they still won. So that's Arkansas's numbers were outrageous. I mean, they got beat in the rushing department, but still, 431 total yards, 297 in the air, then that 134 on the ground. Arkansas's defense really, they hogged up, if you want to say it that way. 4 sacks. They were flying over the ball. They had Sir Nico they had him so discombobulated. And it looks like, that last play of the game, even I noticed in where they let him score.
Oh, yeah, they let him score because it was Nico's about to get the ball.
That's it. And that's what even Brittany was saying. She goes, because they were showing the replay, and she says, well, why'd they do that? And I kind of explained behind it. She said, well, if it don't work, he looks like a dumbass. Well, wear the hat, Happy Apple.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, if I had a quarterback like Nico, I would have done the same thing if I was my defense. Because if not, you're running the clock down. So hear me out here. They played a great game. Letting them score, they get the ball about a minute. How much?
I think it's like a minute 12, minute something.
2:03 was left. So they had a 2-minute timeout. They still had all 3 of their timeouts. They was in a perfect situation.
Yeah, that's call it how you look at that. That's exactly what you would want to do, and that's what I told Brittany.
You got 4 timeouts. You're perfect.
That's exactly what I told you. You have 4 timeouts. You can work the ball down the field. Get down there. Field goal wasn't going to help you. You're going to have to score.
You got to score. And if I needed somebody that just to score a touchdown on the last drive inside the SEC, I'm taking Nico. Out of all the quarterbacks, I'm taking Nico over Dart, over Brady Cook, over Jalen Milroe. I want the young redshirt freshman. But like I was saying,
I do, but not today. Arkansas's defense was on top of. They really and they had him covered as far as their back 7 played lights out, and it ended up winning them the ball game.
Yeah, but like I was getting to, if you watch, 6 seconds ago is when he takes the final snap. He looks in the pocket, and he wastes the time. All 6 seconds run down in the. I was telling Sampson if we looking on our screen, but he wastes all the time, and I'm like, what are you doing? Because in this situation, as a veteran quarterback knows, you need to sideline to sideline, or if you're going to throw it in, you at least need to have a timeout or throw it out the back of the end zone.
Yeah. Well, once he realized he didn't have anybody open, like I said, he did try to get to the sideline, but them 6 seconds went by faster than
he wasted them all inside the pocket, and then he takes off running. And I look at Maddie, I was like, he literally just ran out of bounds as the clock expired.
That's me and Brittany. I swear, me and Brittany had that same conversation. She was like, "It's over," and I said, "Yep." He whizzed it away.
And I was just like, and I mean,
realized,
as a freshman, you're going to take this one. So Taylor Green got hurt with 14 minutes to go inside the fourth quarter. So right as the fourth quarter started, but back to Nico here, it's just. I get it. You're a freshman. It's a big play, big environment you're playing in. On the road as the number 14. Situational awareness in that situation.
But like you said, yeah, he's the freshman. He'll learn. This is one of them games where you're going to have to learn as a redshirt freshman starting in the SEC. I think this is. You can never say you can't find anything good out of a loss, but I think Nico can. This is where he learns. To be quicker, to get to the line, make them quick reads. I think this was I hate it that they lost because I like seeing teams do well, but this is a good learning experience for him.
Yeah, and that was Nico Iamaleava, 17 for 29, 58%, 158 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. And then the big back was back. Dylan Sampson, 22 carries, 138 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And then James Pierce Jr., the leader on that defense, 9 tackles, 5 solos, and 1 sack. Taylor Green went 19 for 27 for 70%, 266 yards while he was in, and then was replaced by Malachi Singleton, who came in the fourth quarter and scored the game-winning rushing touchdown with 2 minutes and 3 seconds to go. Jaquindon Jackson for Arkansas really didn't do a lot, which really shocked me.
I thought
I don't know what's going on there.
Right, I thought the backfield would be
I don't know.
Yeah, again, I thought the backfield would play, I thought the backfield would do a whole lot more than they did, but 19-14, you still get that W.
Yep, that is true. And let's move on to our last game, which was the Under Review Podcast Game of the Week. And that was the number 9 Missouri Tigers traveling down to Kyle Field. Final score 41 in favor of the Aggies.
Boy, this one got me wound up because we've said it all year. We have said it all year.
Nobody drinking the Kool-Aid.
No, and they proved it. Let me tell you what, Texas A&M just went out there and kicked their ass. And I don't mean, sorry for cussing, but I'm just saying.
What's up, brother? Sorry for cussing.
But no, I thought about this. This was a crazy game. And to have Texas A&M just go up and drive, I was getting hot. Brittany's like, is Texas A&M in Missouri? I said, you don't understand. This train is over for them. Mm-hmm. And, at the beginning of the game, during the pre-show, we all talked about Marcel Reed. We didn't know that Connor was going to be starting.
Right.
And he come out and played a heck of a game. And him and Le'Veon Moss. Le'Veon Moss for me is the player of the week on any scale. Dude was a beast. He tromped up and down. He made them bleed every time they get.
I
need to take you go ahead. I need to take a drink. I got wound up.
Texas A&M just, was 25 last week. I think they jumped inside the top 15 this week. I think at 14. So a big jump.
Most definitely.
I'm still, not saying that good, but you beat the number 9 team in the nation who was, but being at 9, not proving anything at the same time. So kind of my feelings are a little iffy for a 14th ranked Aggie. But Brady Cook went 13 for 31, the worst inside the SEC this week at 41%, 186 yards and 1 touchdown. And that was to Theo Wees Jr., who had 2 catches for 72 yards. And then Connor Weigman, 18 for 22 at 81%, 276 yards. And then the big back carrying the ball, Le'Veon Moss, 12 carries, 138 yards with 3 touchdowns as the Aggies roll in Kyle.
Just that long touchdown run. I don't remember how long, that 75-yard when they come back from halftime. First play, he took it and he tally-hoed. He got gone, and I loved it. Texas A&M had 512 total yards, like you said, the 276 in the air and the 236 on the ground. Missouri only had 186 in the air and only 68 rushing yards this whole ball game. And that's why I said I'm not drinking their Kool-Aid. I think their stock is going to hit the bottom now. Like I said, I'm not sure about Texas A&M here at that 14 spot, but if they play like they did, they're going to be hard to beat.
Only time will tell. If you look on our screen right here, here's that big run. Just right up the middle, little halfback dive right up the middle. Kid goes 75 yards, juking out of safety, and then did not get touched besides that. Gone.
No, and that's probably one of my favorite plays all week. Just watch it, and that was that early game. I was up. I tried to.
You gotta watch the YouTube to understand what I was just laughing at, but that was hilarious. I'm sorry.
I was already in a PC mood because I got up and I went to make some sausage balls. My sausage was burnt. Then I was at my almond flour I have to make for my special biscuit or my special
well, can't say special needs, but
my special flour. But no, this game was one of my favorite to watch. To watch this week is how excited I was for Texas A&M, and Marcel Reed. Did he get any action this week, or was it all Weigman?
0, all Weigman.
But still, we know he can do it. I think it's going to be. I think now this is going to give us a little more spotlight to look at Texas A&M here, or as Kelly called them, Texas ATM.
ATM. All right.
Yeah, well, she seen it on the fish. She go, Daddy, why I say ATM? I said, it's Texas. Yeah, that was trying to explain to an 8-year-old how that works.
Yeah.
And of course, Pawpaw was down here aggravating her. So.
Oh well.
But no. Like I said, that's all our game.
That's all our games. Before we get started, as we always do on our recap show, we give you the stat standings. And this week's stat standings will start at passing yards, as we always do. And then, no surprise, who's leading is Jackson Dart from Ole Miss at 2,100 yards. Even, 2,100 yards. Number 2, Garrett Nussmeier, who was off this week at LSU, 1,652 yards. And then Taylor Green still staying at the number 3 spot from Arkansas at 1,502 yards. And then we're going down to passing touchdowns as Garrett Nussmeier from LSU with 15 and still in the lead. Jackson Dart at second with 13. And then there's a tie for the third place in passing touchdowns. Or no, it's just Carson Beck. I lied. Sorry, from Georgia. We're going over to rushing yards. Le'Veon Moss from Texas A&M still leads at 609 yards. Close behind him after being off last week is Dylan Sampson at 587 yards. Then Henry Parrish Jr. from Ole Miss at 570 yards. And then no change at the top, even though he was off last week. Getting rushing touchdowns as Dylan Sampson has 12. Jaquindon Jackson at second with 10. And then Parrish Jr. and Jalen Milroe at 3 with 9. And then as we lead into receiving yards, Trey Harris from Ole Miss, 885 yards. He ain't catching the man. Andrew Armstrong from Arkansas, 552 yards. And then the 17-year-old Ryan Williams from Alabama at 544 yards. Side note, didn't get this out there, but before we get into receiving touchdowns, did you know that at 17 years old, Ryan Williams is the youngest player ever to lose to Vanderbilt?
Holly, that's I didn't see that one on SportsCenter.
Quick hit, bet you didn't. And then as we get into receiving yards,
he's still in high school. How could he do that?
There's a tie for first, as Keandre Lambert-Smith and Ryan Williams both have 6. Kyron Lacey from LSU and Trey Harris from Ole Miss have 5 at second. And then at third, Luther Burden III and Antone Wells Jr. all have 4. And that is your under-review stat standings.
Well, all right, I mean, we're kind of getting close to the end, but let's jump into – I got 2 little topics real quick if we can break them down as fairly decent as we can. After this crazy week we had in the SEC, where does it look for you as you're going into the playoff? Let's not say the SEC championship, because let's get a few more weeks into that. As far as Alabama losing, Ole Miss struggling, Georgia with a win, Tennessee with a loss.
I still say 4 teams get into the playoffs. What was your question? SEC playoffs or SEC championship? Or
Well,
playoffs?
no. I think here in like next 2 weeks we can jump more to that one. But your overall college playoff is, because Texas has still got to play Georgia and Alabama.
Nope, they don't play Alabama.
Or Tennessee.
Tennessee plays Alabama. Yeah,
right.
Yep.
We've still got some really. I mean,
these next 2 weeks. In general, not even inside the SEC, these next 2 weeks are going to really shake up the college football playoffs and every single championship bid out there. Because I know this week we got Oregon, Ohio State, I want to say. It's this week?
Or is that next week? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's this week or next week. It's either one of them. I don't know.
In the grand scheme of things, what there was Michigan lost, Tennessee lost, Alabama lost. Missouri, that's a duh. So really getting shook up. I know there's a new poll out. I think Brittany showed it to me earlier, and nothing super shocking. Alabama and Georgia didn't fall out of the top 10, or Tennessee didn't fall out of the top 10.
Alabama
I think
fell behind Georgia. Yeah,
that was a little shocking.
Is it really though?
No, you got beat by Vandy.
Well, I'm about to say Alabama beats Georgia. Georgia falls. Okay. Alabama loses to an unranked Vanderbilt team. Vandy, you're going to drop further. That's just the logistics of it. A number 3 team or something loses, or number 2 team loses to a number 4 team. They're not going to drop far. Okay, a number 1 team loses to an unranked team that's only won 2 games. They're going to drop pretty far. Logistics.
Well, and that's what I told Brittany after the ball game was over. I would be surprised if Tennessee and Alabama didn't fall completely out of the top 10.
Yeah, I was shocked, but
I was looking at closer Bama being at 9 or 10, maybe 11, but they're still a good ball team. They got into they brought see, how can I put this PGly? They brought a flower to a sword fight. Let's put it that way.
The rankings are out. It's Texas is back at 1. Ohio State's at 2. 3 is Oregon. 4 is Penn State. 5 is Georgia, as they did not move. 6 is Miami, who's having a fantastic year.
Yeah, that's an NCAA decision right there.
Dropping 6 spots is Tennessee at 7, or Alabama at 7. Tennessee dropped 4 spots at 8. Ole Miss jumped up 3 spots into 9, and then Clemson.
So Alabama. Okay, yes, go ahead.
Clemson rounding out the top 10. At 10. And then SEC-wise, LSU stayed at 13 because they was off this week.
Because they was off. They couldn't get beat if they were off.
Texas A&M jumped 10 spots into 15th. And then...
Wow, I'm super more excited to start looking at them because the way they played them, I don't want to say Vandy got lucky, but they played their butts off, and I think going on... Oh, real quick, I had a side note going back to Arkansas and Tennessee. So, do you think the burners turned down just a little bit since Sam Pittman got that big win?
That was one of the things I do want to talk about. With Sam Pittman and Billy Napier both getting the win, turns their eyes off. Yes, as we speak. But here's the thing. Looking at the season so far, has anyone's eye got turned on? Because you really can't turn on Clark Lees after he just beat the number 1 ranked Alabama.
Right.
You can't do it. You can kind of turn on Hugh Freeze's as he's 2-4, 2-3, something like that. You can kind of turn that on.
$21 million buyout. You're going to at least have to give him 3 or 4 years at $21 million.
I mean, I'm not. I mean, you can turn it on, but his recruiting says otherwise. You're losing 3 straight games and then get a number 2 rated dual threat quarterback. So your numbers, something's wrong. Quarterback play, whatever. You know, maybe if a different quarterback in, you're undefeated. Who knows? You maybe only lost to Georgia. But at the same time, you're looking at it as, oh, we're so close. Now, this week's game against Georgia was the first game they lost to that was greater than 10 points. So, which definitely was a loss no matter who was playing. So,
yeah.
I don't believe it.
I think you can turn Sam Pittman's down. Don't turn it off. Turn it down because we still got to jump. And with Napier, he hasn't done anything to turn his down. I think his is still pretty up. Again, everything each week we say jumping into that SEC play is really going to determine if you're going to be wearing that coaching headset next year.
With me, well, first of all, I do want to say that Travis Williams from Arkansas, the defensive coordinator, will be a head coach next year at somewhere in the P4. Will be a head coach. He is playing. He is outstanding on that defense. But I would say, in my perspective, you can cut Sam Pittman's all the way off. His coordinators are helping him stay in his coaching position.
Yep, we talked about that in their previous show.
Yeah, for the rest of this year, you can go ahead and turn his off. He's staying. You know, they knew it when they brought in Bobby Petrino and they brought in Travis Williams. They have, the head coach they wanted. Now, when Travis Williams, per se, who knows? I'm saying he leaves next year to get that P4 college, his head coaching career going because he is coaching absolutely fantastic this year.
Yeah, he is coaching his tail off. And I thought, geez, just has he's got the Auburn ties, but he's, Sam Pittman's only relying on his coordinators with Petrino, like we said in their preview show. So I'm
on Billy's side. I say you just cut his down, just like if it's on a 7, you cut it down to like a 5. Just let it simmer for a couple of weeks. Because I feel like he don't have it in him. Like he should be gone by the end of the season. Yes, the UCF win and the Mississippi State win prolongs that. That's why I say he goes from a 7 to a 5. Like I said, he should be. I said it multiple times on air that they're losing this week and he's getting fired on the spot. I said it because I believe it. Gus, you let me down once again. Aren't you blue, true? You
did it again.
The wheels on the Gus bus go out, not in. So
I got 2 or 3 more minutes. So I won't say bad play, these losing teams, where do you foresee as your Heisman people in the SEC? Whose stock went down, whose stock went up?
I mean, it's not going to. Honestly, as of right now, the Heisman winner's not in the SEC.
Nope, I think he's coming from Boise State.
Alshon Jeffrey.
I mentioned him.
16 touchdowns. Let me pull his stats up real quick if I can.
Yeah, go back to one of our earlier shows. I said he was my dark horse out of the SEC was the Alshon Jeffrey. Man is absolutely electric at Boise State.
Yeah, I've never seen numbers like it.
No,
last time I've seen numbers like it was Derrick Henry when he won the Heisman. So
that's pretty good company for him to be in.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think with Milroe, he struggled. The 2 turnovers really was yes, you can say they weren't his fault, but it goes under his name, so it don't look all that well. Beck had subpar numbers. Okay, there's Gentry's numbers.
95 carries for 1,031 yards and 16 touchdowns, averaging 10.9, almost 11 yards a carry.
That's a crazy stat right there. That's my favorite one there. When he gets the ball, he's picking up and running. So
here's the thing, though. Kid's only a junior from Jacksonville, Florida. Okay.
Napier, why didn't you get him?
Hello, where have you been, Napier? This kid. I don't know if he's. Let's see if he's ever transferred. Because, he could have started. Nope, all 3 years inside Boise State. Last year, he ran for 1,347 yards. And this year already, in 6 games, he has 1,031 yards. He had 14 touchdowns last year, 16 already on 220 carries, and has not only 95 carries this year. So how is that not your front runner?
Right.
I don't care who he played. The kid's putting up 16 touchdowns in 6 weeks.
Yeah. And at 10 yards a carry. I mean, Cam Ward still played good. I don't think he did enough to raise his stock to that he left. Gabriel was off this week. So, I said, it's for SEC fans, it's not going to get any easier for the weeks to come. I think, the crazy win, Vandy's going to be on a high horse. Arkansas is going to be on a high horse. Auburn still got to find some stuff out. The crazy little question, I want to see what DeBoer does with Malachi Moore. That was...
Yeah. It's only Sunday, so we'll find out more.
That's a story in the story somewhere. Yeah, that's a story in a story. I mean, I'm super fired up about Texas A&M. Had that big win that they had to finally, Mizzou got exposed good, which you and I both know it was coming. So,
yeah, I've said it from the beginning, and it's kind of like last week when Georgia got it.
Fact check. Yeah.
So, but, as we end, we want to thank everybody for coming along and joining us on our Under Review podcast recap show. And we want to thank our sponsor, Chuck's Heating and Air, as we heard this time. And then we want to thank the Dadpod at Hunter Brassfield and Nicholas Adams, the Hayden Coker Show, Hayden Coker Media, or HCS Media, owned by Hayden Coker. And then we want to thank it's in the name 3 times. Jud Dickinson for everything he does for us, and then Brandon Trammell as well for last week. Audio got a little bit messed up, but we're trying to fix that. Different thing. It was the first time we've actually had somebody live on the show, so we're working through it as y'all were listening. So sorry if it sounded weird. I know there was a kind of a lag coming from Marty to me and from me to Brandon. It's we're just trying to figure everything out.
We're a bunch of laggers.
Yeah, but as always, thank y'all for listening to the Under Review podcast. God loves you. We love you here. And now always remember, we will see you at the monitor when we go Under Review. Well,
I hear the man.
Well, I'm trying to get us out of here, but it's not playing.
Thanks for making the call to go Under Review. Join us next time as we go to the monitors. Until then, keep your flag handy.